In today's video, we're going to talk about 4 things that I wish I knew before starting photography. Let's get right into it. So the first point I want to talk about is that you have to think highly of yourself. I know. Anything that you're starting out with, is daunting, especially when it's that competitive, like what we're talking about, photography. There's a ton of people coming into the scene nowadays trying out their hands on photography to make ends meet. And when this part of where I actually live in the world, where things are not that easy, a lot of youngsters are trying out in photography, so it's choked. And so when you're starting out, there are a lot of creative people coming in here and there, bringing out most of the best works that you wish you could do or you could also perform. But in most cases, you might feel like you're not up to it. But let me try and tell you this. I'm not even trying. Let me actually tell you this, that you are up to anything that you put your mind to, and you can actually achieve it. If you have the zeal, the urge, all that you need to do is to just learn how to actually do it. And by learning, read, watch videos on YouTube, do all the kind of stuff that you need to do before you even grab, a camera. You have a phone. Your phone has a camera. Why don't you try out with composition? Why don't you try out with framing? Do all those kind of stuff that if you get yourself an actual camera you can apply to, because it's basically the same thing. Let's say the difference is just that, with the phone, it has a lot of automatic capabilities that you might probably not find with a digital camera. But to be frank, they all use the same principles and applications. So before you start out, just think highly of yourself that you can actually do it. And if you put your mind to it, you can definitely succeed. Now that you have all the confidence to start out, let's get on to the second point. The second point is that you have to go out there and shoot. All right. Like I said, with a phone camera, of course, you definitely have a phone. So if you have a phone, go out there and start out with it. And if you're fortunate enough to get yourself a digital camera, still go out there and shoot. Test out all the things that you've learned and try to avoid this particular misconception that you need to know how to edit pictures. Everything starts from getting the pictures right in camera. So if you can do that, post-processing should be a bonus. So don't always bombard yourself that I need to learn how to edit and all, and that's gonna, make me a better photographer. No. Get out there, shoot a lot, because you're going to realize that if you used to be cropping your pictures after you've shot them when you're editing, you're going to realize that you will barely be cropping, because that's what personally I experienced. That hardly would I crop my images because I'm able to compose them and frame them the way that I know that I'm going to get it out of the editing software and upload it on wherever or submit it to my clients. So post-processing is just a bonus. That shouldn't be the priority. Go out there and shoot. Now to the third point, we shouldn't get ourselves into this. If you're listening to me and you're starting out in photography, or even as a seasoned photographer, there's something that if you're not careful, you might drown yourself in. And it's gas. And I'm not talking about gas as in liquefied petroleum gas or whatever. I am rather talking about gear acquisition syndrome. I've made a video over here already. I'm going to link it up there. And, you can check it out and understand everything that there is to know about gas. But what I'm essentially telling you to avoid is that don't invest all your money or your income into getting the newest gear out there, because if you're not careful, every day, every month, every year, a lot of releases are going to happen. So if you're going to keep up with all the digital, releases, all the digital softwares, everything that comes out, and you want to jump on it, sooner than later, you're not going to be enjoying photography as much as you did before. So be very careful that you don't invest all your money in there, so that you can actually devote yourself into trying new things with the same camera setup that you used a year ago or two, until you actually have a very potent reason. Let's say you're jumping into a different genre in photography that actually demands more than what your gear is. If you have that particular reason behind it, and it's not merely because there's a new release and you want to jump onto it, don't waste your money on gear. And finally, to the last tip, you shouldn't run away from your mistakes, because mistakes actually teaches us a lot of lessons. Let me put it this way. Someone who has the opportunity to learn from a seasoned photographer every step of the way might not actually be, introduced to a lot of mistakes that will be very applicable in different areas, or wouldn't help them to understand photography in depth by learning by themselves, because they've got a tutor taking them through everything. But if you practice self-learning and you are doing all that yourself, and you make all the mistakes that there is to be made to really fully understand every principle and why the outcome turned out the way that you don't want or otherwise, you're going to have a much more rooted understanding in most cases better than the one who had the chance, or what I say, who was much more fortunate in quotes to be with a seasoned photographer or someone to tutor them. Because just as I said earlier, mistakes actually make us better, because if you make mistakes, you can readjust your plans the next approach you're going to make so that it can assuringly be guaranteed. Basically, that's what I mean. So yeah, these are the tips that I wish I knew, or these are the things that I wish I knew before I started photography. Because when you're starting out, trust me, a lot of things will be clouding your mind. You'll be asking a lot of questions that you might not find answers to. But these are things that I really wish that I knew, because today I am who I am because of the mistakes that I made. I'm who I am because of the videos that I watched, and I understood a lot of things, learning almost everything that I know today by myself, and has made me a very good photographer as much as I can tell, you know. So yeah, basically this is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the post notification button, and I'm going to catch you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. See ya.